Welcome and good afternoon. This is Commish Orr, and today we are going to look at the final four games to determine, that determined the what we'll call the Elite Eight of the History Maker Baseball all-time franchise greats Baseball Maelstrom tournament that I've been running. So I finished four more games on the National League side, and that completed, or I guess two American, two National. And that completed the, as I said, what we'll call the Elite Eight in the winner's bracket. Haven't gotten to the loser's bracket games yet for the day, but I think it's pretty interesting to take a look and see who's made it so far. So I'm going to give a quick recap of those four games, and then give an update on the tournament and talk a little bit about some thoughts that I have moving forward. So first, let's head over to Cleveland as the Los Angeles Angels were facing off against the Cleveland Indians. And Bob Feller on the mound for Cleveland against Frank Tanana of the Angels. And Tanana actually took a no-hitter into the seventh here. As you can see, he retired the first six batters he faced. He walked Lou Boudreau here, but then quickly got out of that, and then retired the next nine batters for walking Tris Speaker. The first base hit here came in the seventh inning with two outs when Manny Ramirez singled. And actually they threatened to score here when Albert Bell walked to load the bases, but that's all the danger for that inning. The next inning, though, is when they would actually score a single walk, and then Al Rosen actually had an RBI single here in the eighth, finally, to break up the shutout even. But overall, Tanana in control in this game. 8 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed only, 1 earned run, struck out 6 and walked 4. Bob Feller, on the other hand, struggled even in the first inning. Mike Trout had a 2-run single here in the first to get them on the board. Jim Fregosi hit a home run in the second. Tim Salmon hit another home run in the third. Those are solo shots. And then Fregosi had another home run in the seventh inning, a 2-run homer that knocked Feller out of the game. And Spillner came in relief, and Troy Glaus actually had a 2-run homer later in the seventh. So overall, the Angels ran away with this one 8-2, 8 runs on 12 hits against Cleveland. And so Cleveland drops down to the loser's bracket, and the Angels advance. Let's head over to Oakland, where the Baltimore Orioles franchise greats were facing off against the Oakland Athletics. We had Jim Palmer on the mound for Baltimore and Vida Blue on the mound for Oakland. And the teams were on the board early in the first inning here, thanks to some homers. Jim Gentile hit a solo shot on the first to get Baltimore on the board first. And but they stranded the bases loaded, so they couldn't score again off of Vida Blue. Meanwhile, Jim Palmer allowed a 2-run homer to Jason Giambi there in the bottom of the first. Ricky Henderson singled to lead off the game and stole a base, which is what we would expect to see from him. But those runs would be the only runs this game, as both pitchers kind of settled down and got into a groove. And Palmer actually went the distance in this one, pitched all 8 innings, allowing 7 hits. He did walk 7, but struck out 6. Again, the only runs he allowed was that 2-run homer by Jason Giambi in the first inning. Vida Blue, on the other hand, went 8 innings also, struck out 6, walked 5, allowed just 5 hits and a run. And then Eckersley came in and got the save in the ninth. He did walk Cal Ripken Jr. with 2 outs, but got Alomar to ground out to end the game. So Oakland takes this one 2-1 in a tight pitchers duel, and they will advance in the tournament. Baltimore falls down to the loser's bracket. Sends us over to St. Louis as the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise took on the St. Louis Cardinals. And once again, St. Louis got out in front here with a 2-run shot by Mark McGuire in the first inning. There was an error by Pie Traynor that actually extended that inning. and allowed those 2 runs to score. Then in the 5th, Joe Torre would actually have a 2-run double to put 2 more runs on the board for St. Louis and put them up 4-0 at that point. Pittsburgh did get 1 back in the 6th on an RBI single from Arky Vaughan. But then St. Louis, Mark McGwire would homer once again in the 6th inning to keep that distance, a 5-1 lead. That went into the 8th when Mort Cooper ran into a little bit of trouble finally. After getting Dick Stewart to ground out, Honus Wagner doubled. He got Arky Vaughan to pop up, but then Ralph Kiner hit a 2-run homer. Brian Giles hit a single, and then Dave Parker had a triple to score him to cut the lead down to 5-4, and that's when they brought in some relief. Todd Worrell actually got out of that inning, getting Pie Traynor to ground out, and St. Louis actually threatened in the 8th against Kent Tekulve. They load the bases up, but he was able to get out of that jam. And so heading to the 9th, Bruce Sutter came in to close things out for the Cardinals and did just that. Jason Kendall actually had a single with 1 out. Barry Bonds came in to pinch hit and grounded into a double play to end the game. So one may wonder why Barry Bonds is not in the starting lineup, but honestly, it's just because the Pittsburgh lineup in the outfield is just so stacked. And this is not the Giants' Barry Bonds. This is the Pirates' Barry Bonds, which, while great, not quite as good as some of the other players in the Pirates lineup. So anyway, that kind of explains that a little bit. So St. Louis holds on to win this one 5-4. St. Louis only with 6 hits this game, but pretty efficient in their scoring. Pittsburgh 4 runs on 9 hits in this one. Finally, we head over to Dodger Stadium as the Arizona Diamondbacks facing off against the LA Dodgers, again in the National League, obviously. And we had the matchup of Curt Schilling against Clayton Kershaw here in this one. And once again, we had a game that was decided pretty much in the first inning. So Luis Gonzalez hit a solo shot against Kershaw there in the first with 2 outs. And then Kershaw was pretty much cruising after that one. He scattered some hits, allowed 5 hits over 7 innings, struck out 6. But Arizona not able to really do anything with those hits. And meanwhile, Schilling had a pretty rocky first inning. He allowed a leadoff single to Jackie Robinson to start off the game. Babe Herman walked. And then Mike Piazza hit a 3-run shot. So right away, LA was up 3-1, and they hadn't even had their first out yet. After retiring the next 2 batters, though, Schilling would load the bases thanks to Pedro Guerrero's single, Gil Hodges walked, and then Ron Cey singled. Again, to load the bases. Pee Wee Reese, though, would fly out to end the inning there. And then after that, Schilling actually settled down quite a bit and held the Dodgers scoreless through the 6th. Overall, Schilling would allow 6 hits. 4 of those came in the first inning. He did strike out 5 and walked 5. And both sets of relievers this game were very good, pretty much lights out. So the Dodgers actually had perfect 8th and 9th inning to close things out here. And so they win this one 3-1, 3 runs on 7 hits for the Dodgers, no errors, and Arizona 1 run on just 5 hits and no errors for them. So where does this put us with the tournament? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Sweet 16, we'll call them. So the Elite 8. The Sweet 16 was last round. The Elite 8, as we'll call them. We will have, in the next set of winners bracket games, Seattle taking on Detroit. This is in the American League. And Oakland taking on the LA Angels. So Detroit, the highest seeded team in the winners bracket, left. They were a 4th seed. And remember, I seed these teams based on their franchise winning percentage prior to this current season, I believe. So Seattle's ranked last in the American League in winning percentage, franchise winning percentage. So that's why they're ranked 16th. Of course, I do have the Yomiuri Giants are in the American League in this bracket. They actually lost their first game, so they're down in the losers bracket. But that Japanese league team is in the American League, and I have the Negro League Homestead Grays in the National League to round out a field of 16 franchises or franchise representatives for each league. Over in so I should say the next 4 games I'll be playing, or the next 8 games I should say, are these games in the losers bracket. So those are on this current day. Meanwhile, let's look at the National League here. The remaining 4 teams in the National League in the winners bracket are Miami, which is surprising. The New York Mets. So Miami will take on the New York Mets, and the number 2 and number 3 seeds, Battle of the Titans here. The St. Louis Cardinals will take on the LA Dodgers here in the National League to round out that Elite 8. And of course, we have the losers bracket games still to play before we get to the Elite 8 matchups. So we'll be playing those out as well. 4 games in the American League, 4 games in the National League to determine the losers bracket advances. As always, one last note here. As always, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com if you want to follow the action. Let's just take a look at that now and see what we have. So here's the baseballmaelstrom.com front page. I do a little paragraph write-up on each game so that you can see those in order. You can click on the link to get the game page with a little write-up, and click here to get the box score. So if you're interested in looking at any of these box scores with more detail, you always have access to every box score and score sheet for every game that I play. So you can find those there. You can find the link to the full tournament bracket here. Click on that, and here was today's schedule. So the October 2nd games are all displayed here. You can see I'm about halfway through those games because we have just the losers bracket games to go here. If you want to see yesterday's games, you can come over to the scores here. Many ways to do that. But what you can also do is click on stats. If you click on stats, you can get the complete statistics for all the games played so far. I update this statistics about once every 4 games. So once every time I make a video, I update these statistics. So you can see the team standings, even though the standings don't really matter because it's a tournament. But you can see the team standings. If you click on batting, you can see the team batting. You can see all the team batting stats. You can see the team pitching stats for each league, fielding stats. And if you want to click on leaders, you can see those American League leaders only, National League leaders only, or the entire tournament leaders only. I don't know why there's 2 pitching links. They both lead to the same place. But so if you click on one of these, you can get to has the highest batting average, for example, in the American League right now. And again, most teams have only played 1 or 2 games. Well, all teams have only played 1 or 2 games. So there's not going to be a lot of separation here early on in some of these stats. But if you're interested, you can kind of take a look at that. The other cool thing is if you click on a team, let's go to Oakland, for example, you can get the Oakland specific batting, pitching, fielding stats. You can also come up here and see all sorts of other interesting things. So like player highs, that's going to be very hard to read. It is even hard to read on an actual computer screen. So you may have to use your computer keys to blow this up a little bit to read it. But here are the leaders for that particular team, the highs, player highs, and then there's team highs and lows too. So this team specific, like what game did they have the most hits in, that kind of thing. And again, most teams, all teams have only played 1 or 2 games, so there's not going to be a lot of separation there. But that's just some other statistics that you can see. I use ball score and ball stat to track the statistics. And the cool thing about that is not only that it goes into a lot of detail, but that it makes it very easy to create web pages that are linked. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've had a lot of trouble with ball score and ball stat for this league. The Pops League that I did with Payoff Pitch, that one went off without a hitch, had no problems with it. Everything was great. This league, I've had issue after issue, lots of errors and all sorts of things. And since that software is not getting updated, it's very hard to do anything to fix those errors that are coming up. So I've kind of been struggling through it. Yeah, it's gotten to the point where I would probably switch to something else. Like I know Digital Diamond has tabletop software that you can, even though it's its own game, you can use that software to score your own games using other tabletop systems and that kind of thing. The problem with it is I like having the score sheets that you can see. So, for example, coming back here, having the score sheets that you see on the right, having that ability to see the score sheets to me is a lot better than just the box score, because then you can kind of dig in and see how innings transpired and that kind of thing if I ever want to go back and look to help kind of recreate what happened. That's very handy, and I don't believe that Digital Diamond has that ability to show this. Even though it does keep track of stats. The other downside is there's no ability to create web pages easily. One of the things that ball score and ball stat does very well is it automatically, with a click of a button, creates these web pages. And I don't have to do anything. So it has the standings. They're linked, so you can click on teams. You can click on players. So if I want to see Ricky Henderson for Oakland, it shows his game-by-game game log and his specific stats, and you just don't have that. You can also see his left-right splits, how he does against each pitcher. I mean, that's pretty detailed, and all of these web pages are created automatically with the click of a button with ball stat. And once again, Digital Diamond does not have that ability as far as I know. I did make that suggestion on their forums, and there was mention that it might be something that they would implement in the future, but so far as I'm aware, it doesn't have that ability. So those are two kind of big things, is the ability to see these score sheets like you see on the right, and the ability to see to have web pages created for stats. And again, that's kind of a unique user case. Most people that are playing solo don't need to have web pages created, for example. So for them, it's not a big deal. But for me, I don't know. Maybe part of that's because I have this website, and maybe if, I don't know how many of you actually view the website or anything, but I think it's kind of cool to just be able to come out here and kind of take a look at games and kind of see them displayed. It helps me kind of get into the league a little bit better, because it, I do a little write up and I'm pulling in pictures and that kind of thing. So it helps me in terms of being immersed in the league, and that's why I continue to do it. But I guess, I don't know. I might have to look at other options if I continue to have errors with ball stat and ball score. Some of that may also be because, like, the Pops League was only 8 teams, whereas this league is 32. So there's like way more teams and way more processing being done in the software than when I just had 8 teams. So it's probably a combination of things, but I don't know. If anybody has any advice on other software I should check out, keep in mind the two big things that Ball Score Ball Stat does, as I said, has the score sheets that you can view, like you just saw, and has an ability to generate web pages. So if you know of other software that does anything like that, Love to hear about it. So, with all that said, something else that I'm kind of considering. I'm not sure yet positively if I'm going to do it or not, but I'm really considering it. And that is to actually only do a double elimination tournament instead of triple. Triple elimination tournament's actually almost a registered trademark of Baseball Maelstrom, if you will, because it's something that my co-commission I came up with back in the days when we ran the Out of the Park League back in the 2000s, the early 2000s, is something that we had that was kind of unique to that league. And so that's really the reason that I wanted to kind of bring it back here. However, as I've been playing through, there are some other games that I kind of want to check out. I want to play Payoff Pitch again, and I'm not one of those guys that can have multiple projects going on at the same time, or just play random one-off games here or there. I don't know. For some reason, I like to just focus on one project at a time. A lot of that's because I get immersed in the project. I create the web pages and all that business, but so what that means is if I continue to do a triple elimination here, that's going to be 90 plus games, roughly 90 plus games, and I'm 24 games into this. So, we're talking, I play about 4 games a week. So, you're talking about another many, many months before this is going to be complete. Whereas if I only did double elimination, I'd almost be halfway through already. Still plenty of baseball left to play, but it would give me a chance to kind of finish this up. And there are things that I would probably go back and tweak now that I've played some. Remember, the very first game of History Maker Baseball I ever played was this first game in the tournament. So I'd never played History Maker Baseball before. So obviously now that I've played some games, I have some things that I might tweak, and I have other games that I'd like to try out too, take a look at. And I also want to do Payoff Pitch again. So to have the second season of my Payoff Pitch League, to kind of update that and get that going again. So chances are I will do 2 projects at once. So I'm going to do the Payoff Pitch project, do that league, but I'm also going to probably try maybe something else, something I haven't played before. I know ID Jester gave me a couple of suggestions on games that he thought I might try. I need to update my video on top 8 things I look for in a tabletop baseball game, because I think my ideas have changed a little bit since I did that video. And then I want to give you kind of my thoughts on History Maker Baseball. I don't want to do that yet because I'm kind of in the middle of it here. But I think once I finish the tournament, I'm going to give you my thoughts on History Maker Baseball, what I like and what I don't like about it. And again, if I only do a double elimination, that'll get me to that faster, I think, obviously. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And there's really not going to be much change to the bracket other than I would just get rid of this portion, this elimination bracket portion. So it's not going to affect the games that are already played, because I haven't played any of those games yet down here. But that's probably how I would handle it. I think what I would do, though, is I would still, in the finale, I would still go until the team has 3 losses. Or I might just have a short series with the American League and National League champions, like a World Series between the two. So I might do something like that instead, as kind of a compromise. Anyway, I think I've talked long enough. That's kind of my video. I don't know how many of you watched to the end, but for those of you who did, I would love to hear your thoughts on anything I've said today. Ball score, ball stat. If there's other software that you would recommend for me, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what do you think of History Maker Baseball, if you've played it. I know there's a ton of games out there, so I'm not going to ask for suggestions on games because everybody has their favorite, and I'll get 20 suggestions. I think I have a few in mind that I would play next, so I think I already have that lined up, and I'm just gonna have to make a decision about that. But if you have any strong feelings on double versus triple elimination tournament here, I'd love to hear that. And then there's so many things that I'm asking you to leave comments about. You can leave comments about anything down below. Questions, thoughts, leave those down in the comments, and I respond to every comment. So you can be assured that I'll be watching, reading your comments, and responding. So please do so. I think that's where we will leave things. I've talked long enough. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this. And until next time, have a great evening.